So why do we tip? And does it really encourage better service, or does it justify restaurant owners underpaying their staff? Well, to chew over this sticky issue, we're joined from Florida by Aaron Allen. He's the founder and CEO of Aaron Allen and Associates, a global restaurant consultancy with clients from 6 continents. Welcome to the show. Aaron, just give a sense of how big the tipping economy is in the U.S. and how does that compare to other countries?
It's enormous. It's the largest in the world by far. We have in the U.S. restaurant industry about 14 million food service workers. That's 1 in 10 Americans actually work in a restaurant. And in terms of tipping for full service restaurants, it's north of $35 billion a year spent on tips. That by far exceeds every other country in the world. We're nearly double what we tip as a percentage from most other countries. It's particularly pronounced in the West. That's really where a lot of tipping kind of originated back in the medieval days. But here in the United States, it's just kind of gotten away from us. We're up to now 21% typically seeing as service charges in restaurant bills for full service restaurants.
Right. I mean, it used to be 15%. I know when my parents were around, they're kind of still trying to get the 15% out there. But I have to say, no, it's actually 20, or as you say, 21% is the norm now. How has it gotten so high?
Yeah, I grew up in a family-owned restaurant, and I remember when it was 12%. And I think really what we're seeing is tip inflation. And it is, in a lot of ways, is guilt. Americans feel a sense of guilt if they don't kind of over-tip. If everyone else is tipping 12%, you're not really generous unless you give 15%. But now if everybody's tipping 15%, you got to give 18%. Now we go from 18% to now we're at 21%. I mean, it's really gotten kind of out of hand. In hotels now, you see typically, maybe you'll find a roast beef sandwich on the menu for $9. By the time you get it up to your room, a $4.50 delivery charge has been added on, 21% service charge has been added on top of that, and there's still a tip line after all of that at the bottom.
Right. Well, Aaron, also, it seems that waitstaff are increasingly dependent upon tips because wages, or the minimum wage, or the wages actually that they get paid is often below the minimum wage. In some states, it's as low as $2.15 an hour. Have we really seen that the wages have been stagnant for a long time?
It's actually been since 1991. It's really remarkable. So we in this country, more than any other country in the world, supplement the wages of food service workers. So it actually stopped in 1991 federally. For all states in the U.S., the minimum wage for tipped employees was set at $2.13, and it hasn't budged since 1991. So I think that's part of the reason we see the inflation of wages. It's also kind of exacerbated by the fact that the U.S. restaurant industry has grown every single year consecutively since the 70s. So it's now a $730 billion a year industry. I mean, if it were a country, just what we spend in restaurants here, it would be the 17th largest in the world. So,
wow.
You know, as we've kind of become conditioned to tipping and the industry has become so large and we've supplemented wages to the degree that we have, it's really led to quite a large gap in terms of income inequality within restaurants.
And right, now where does the money go when we're talking about tipping? Who are the main recipients of the tips?
And that's where a big part of this kind of national debate in terms of tipping has merged with this, you know, here in the U.S., the minimum wage kind of expectations. The bulk of this all goes to the front of house staff. So if you take they actually took a study at a few restaurants, and of 145 workers, they had combined $1.7 million that they had not paid in taxes. So about 40% of all of these tipped wages are non-reported income, and it primarily goes to the front of house staff, 2 or 3 positions, and there might be 20 positions in total working in a restaurant.
Okay, but clearly maybe the IRS is concerned about that, but when it comes to restaurant owners, I don't think that they're that concerned about that. So why are they making this push to get rid of tips right now?
They're really trying to redistribute the income within the restaurant. You know, for most restaurateurs, if they only have to pay federally required $2.13, and we as customers will make up the difference in that to give them a livable wage. Why would they want to go from $2.13 to $15 an hour as a minimum wage? So really it's going to kind of take the government stepping in to help fix some of this, but it's that the money's not getting to the back of house staff, and that's why some of these restaurateurs have taken steps to try to help move the income somewhere else besides just the front of house tipped wait staff.
Okay, Aaron, lastly, though, won't this be a disincentive to good service if people know, I'm not going to get tips anymore, I'm just going to get a higher wage?
Well, it's been interesting. I mean, I've traveled to 70 countries around the world, 6 continents, and experienced so many cultures and cuisines, and you don't see as big of a gap. In fact, a lot of in terms of service levels, for even those economies where their tips are minimal, if anything. I mean, I tipped 50 cents once in the Philippines, and it literally brought the woman to tears. She actually prayed for me for a 50-cent tip. You could give $50 here in the States, and front of house staff won't even blink an eye at certain restaurants. So what the studies have actually found, and this is a little risque, but that if you're a female in your 30s with blonde hair and large breasts, actually that's where the bulk of the tips go. It's not actually incentivizing good service. In many ways, it's kind of perpetuating
discrimination.
Discrimination.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Aaron, so much. We've run out of time. That's Aaron Allen, the CEO and founder of Aaron Allen and Associates.